Thank you guys for watching this video. Like and subscribe to see more videos. Let's get into the video.
Glitch. Absolute access, phasing through any solid matters, like walk through walls. Intangibility, Abito's Kamui, how attacks used to go through him as if his body isn't real. Lagging, how like in games when our game lags our characters keep on going backwards. For example in PUBG, when the game lags our character keep on going back to the previous position whenever we start moving forward. Teleportation, using reverse engineering method of lagging, where in lagging one keeps on going backwards, in teleportation we keep going forward as far as we can see. Malleable anatomy, via glitching his body like a code. He can rewriting his body like a code to change his appearance, like shapeshifting. Enhanced physics, he is at peak human level in strength, endurance, speed, etc. Cyberpresence, like Ultron from Avengers. He can put his consciousness in laptop and also take over internet as well. He can also have a physical body made up of digital codes. He can also have his real body hidden in internet. Error inducement, let's say overhaul through the quirk erasing bullets towards me. With error inducement, the bullets will always miss. Something will come up through which the attacks would never connect and will always miss. Logic defiance, via glitch quirk, he can defy common sense and logic. Anything you think is logical will become false, and anything you think illogical will become a reality. For X, it's logical for a human to need oxygen to live, but with logic defiance, he might not need oxygen to survive at all, or he can run at the speed faster than light, yet he would remain unharmed. Reality hacking, he can bend the reality as per his will. It could be like the real world is a game for him. He would see aim crosshead in real life. He can change the world by adding codes, like then cheat codes in GTA. Glitch physiology, via glitch physiology. He became a living glitch, a paradox not meant to exist in the real world, like a god who is walking among men when he shouldn't be doing it. Self-resurrection, via glitch, he has unlimited lives. Like in Mario we have 3 lives, but Izuku here has unlimited lives, and he has made himself a part of the universe, an integral part of the universe, so as long as the universe exists, he will exist as well. Digital world, he can see the world in ones and zeros. Biology hacking, he can use glitch to let's say change one's physiology, like changing someone's bodily functions other than himself, like making someone else not need oxygen to live or become self-sustaining. Backtracking, will update it soon. Will update once they make their appearance. 1. Fuyumi Todoroki. 2. Lady Nagant. 3. Maki Zenin. 4. Momo Yaoyorozu. 5. 1 Chapter 1 Shattered Hope. Shattered hope is like a broken mirror. It can be repaired, but it will never be the same. Unknown. Symbol of Fear Izuku's POV. For once I listened to Bakugo's advice. Take a swan dive off the roof, and maybe I'll get a quirk in my next life. Thinking about it, I stand by the rooftop of my school, I close my eyes, and take a deep breath as I jump from the roof. Welcome to the story of my life. The story of me becoming the symbol of fear. The twins Kazuki and Izuku are watching one of their favorite videos online. It's the video of the number 1 hero's debut. The one where All Might saved 100 people in less than 10 minutes. It ends with his signature smile and catchphrase, and the two of them shouted out with him. I am here. X2. They laugh together, talking about what Izuku's quirk might be. It definitely needs to be something impressive if it's taking much longer to manifest than Kazuki's. They're twins after all. As they're laughing together, Inko comes in, smiling at the two of them. She beams at the two of them as she claps to get their attention. Okay, you two, we need to go to the doctor to get your quirks appraised, said Inko. Yeah, X2. They leave the room in front of Inko, unaware of the worry in her gaze as she looks at her son. Once they're all in the car, Izuku asks his mom where dad is. Oh, he got caught up with his work again, so he'll be coming home late again,
Inko said, sighing.
She knows how important her husband is, being the number 1 hero and all, but it would be nice to have him home more often. But that's the price one has to pay for a safer Japan. She understands, and she makes sure her children don't hold it against him. It helps that when he's home, he showers the 3 of them with as much love as he can. The entire ride to the doctor, the car was filled with the 2 children geeking out over heroes and quirks. Whenever Inko Yagi hears her kids praising All Might, their father, as the best hero, she can't help but feel a surge of pride in her chest. Even without knowing that their parents are both heroes, the 2 admire them. Soon they all arrive at the doctor's. The person seeing them is a bald man with big green goggles with a yellow rim. But what hair he lacks on his head, he more than makes up for with his bushy mustache. His name is Kyudai Garaki. Yes, the same person who made Numix for AFO. Izuku watched him as he used a small device and wrapped it around his brother's legs. As he does, he explains. This device will analyze a person's quirk, telling us how strong it might be. Of course, it is only a rough estimate, given that quirks can be trained the same as any kind of muscle, said Dr. Garaki. After he's done with his explanation, the device beeps. Taking it off, he looks at the screen and exclaims in shock. Unbelievable. Without training it, your quirk will be on the level of the top pros. And with enough training, you can easily surpass the pros, exclaimed Dr. Garaki. Feeling proud of the praise given to him, Kazuki gives a confident nod. Raising his hand, he uses his telekinesis to lift the device out of the doctor's hand, surprising him. Impressive for one at such a young age as yours. You'll be highly sought out by major pro heroes, boy, said Dr. Garaki as he turns his attention to Izuku, and he eagerly holds out his leg for him. Dr. Garaki chuckles at his enthusiasm before wrapping another device around his leg. After a few minutes of nothing happening, he frowns. Taking it off, he fiddles with it a bit, checking the wiring and all before putting it back on. They wait, but still nothing. Inko is looking worried now, but Izuku and Kazuki are just confused. He takes it off of me again, before looking at Inko. If it's alright with you, I'd like to do a few more tests. Inko nods, hoping to find out what's wrong with her child. She knew something was off when he didn't show any signs of his quirk a month ago like his brother when they turned 4. The doctor took some blood from Izuku's hand, and he held back his tears at the pain, as he wanted to be a hero, and if he cried at just a needle injection there is no way he can be a hero. After taking his blood, the doctor has Izuku do a few different movements, wearing all sorts of monitoring equipment, which he does with no problem. As they go through them all, he asks Izuku about what he wants to do when he grows up. Izuku simply says that he wants to be the next symbol of peace along with Kazuki surpassing All Might. Izuku said as he held Kazuki's hand, and he showed a gentle smile to me. Looking up from the x-ray, the doctor's words erase all the smiles in the room. Sorry, kid. It's not gonna happen, said Dr. Garaki. The only sound anyone can hear is the clatter Izuku's All Might action figure makes as it falls to the floor. They all stare at the doctor in shock, the silence seeming to permeate our entire beings. Izuku completely zones out as if his whole world was burnt and taken away from him. Inko, who manages to break free of it first. Oh dear, so there's something wrong with him? Most of the other kids in his kindergarten class have already shown signs of their quirks, including his brother, asked Inko. She shoots a reassuring smile at Kazuki, who looks mad at the doctor's words, ready to attack him any moment. But it quickly turns to shock and then pity as he speaks. I'm afraid that your son is quirkless. You see, he goes on to explain how people have evolved and that the bones in the legs of a person's foot are a sure way to tell whether or not they have a quirk. Those who have quirk don't have an extra bone in their leg, and Izuku has that extra bone, which is considered useless from an evolutionary perspective. Yet unfortunately Izuku didn't listen to anything beyond the word quirkless as his world came crashing down in front of his eyes. Izuku thinks about all the plans he and Kazuki made, all relying on them, becoming the best heroes together. All the superhero fantasy shit that every 4-year-old likes, who wishes to be a hero. Kazuki and Izuku were super excited for when we would develop our own quirks. But it seems like that's never going to happen for him. Inko even lashed out at the doctor, saying he had made some mistake, yet nothing changed. Izuku was diagnosed quirkless, and that wasn't going to change. The drive home was in silence, one that goes unbroken all the way home. Once they reach home, Izuku goes to his room and turns on the computer. He watches his favorite video, over and over and over. He watches as All Might flashes his reassuring smile, as he says his iconic words. Then he did it again, over and over and over again. Izuku could tell that his mom was behind him, looking at him with worry in her eyes. Slowly, he turned to her, tears pooling in my eyes. All Might is always smiling, no matter how bad things get, said Izuku, raising a trembling finger to show her as if it would somehow erase the time he spent at the doctor's. It would reverse everything that happened there. Do you think that I can be a hero too? Asked Izuku as his voice is weak and his entire body is trembling. She grabs onto him. She apologizes. She says that she wishes things could be different. She doesn't answer, not directly. But he knows. Izuku knew the meaning in her words, coupled with the look of pity in her eyes. You can't become a hero. Chapter 2, Neglect. Neglect is the worst form of cruelty. Mahatma Gandhi. Unable to bear it, Izuku cried for hours and fell asleep out of exhaustion. Maybe Izuku can be a hero even without a quirk? Like the guy in the chair, like many superheroes, thought Kazuki as a hope ignited within his heart. Time passes like that, and before they know it, it's already dinner time. That's when Inko's husband, Tashinori Yagi, finally returns. He looks at his wife and son, immediately noticing the heavy atmosphere of the home, which he developed after being a hero for too long. What happened? Where's Izuku? He asks, trying not to think of the worst possibilities. Seeing his obvious distress, and knowing what life as a hero is like, Inko quickly reassures him. He's okay, just sleeping. Breathing a sigh of relief, Tashinori Yagi looks at his wife, the question clear on his face. With a sigh of resignation, Inko speaks. We went to the doctor to get their quirks appraised, and Izuku doesn't have one. Inko doesn't beat around the bush, deciding to come out and say it as bluntly as possible. Inko doesn't even notice that she's crying until Tashinori is hugging her. Then Inko breaks down as the shock finally wears off. That her son, in a society that revolves around a person's quirk, is lacking. After letting her emotions out through her tears for 10 minutes, Inko looks up at her husband, surprised and a little angry at his lack of a reaction to the news. What the hell is wrong with you? Don't you care that our son isn't normal? Inko yells the last part, and both her husband and son, who is listening from the room's entrance, and both of them flinch. Tashinori from the reminder of his past, as he also was quirkless before OFA. Kazuki from hearing that his brother isn't normal. He knew that, of course, but knowing it and hearing your mother confirm it while yelling it are two different things. The slight hope that ignited within Kazuki started flickering and shrinking, somehow smaller than it was before. Had it been anyone else, the flame would never have come into being. But Kazuki's desperation to hold on to his and his brother's dreams managed to ignite the spark. Yet now he was desperately trying to maintain it. Tashinori shoots a glance at his other son's wide eyes before leaning into his wife and whispering in her ear. I promise that I'll explain later, but for now we need to act normal. I don't want Kazuki to worry about such things from now. Inko glares at him as he clears his throat and speaks in an overly cheerful voice. So, what about Kazuki? Did you get his quirk appraised as well? Glancing at his other son who had just entered the room, Inko's eyes soften before a mysterious yet playful glint appears in her eyes. We sure did. Inko yells with more authentic joy than Tashinori. The doctor said that his telekinesis is powerful even more so than mine. He said that, when he grows up his quirk will also mature, and he can easily become the #1 hero and surpass All Might. Who? Is that so? Then I would love to see you surpass the current #1 hero, All Might. Said Tashinori Yagi, as he showed a proud smile, as he was happy both as a father as well as the #1 hero. For him to be surpassed by none other than his own son is definitely a proud moment for him. Saying this, he signaled Kazuki to come towards him. Following this, Kazuki did it as Tashinori took him in his embrace, as well as the three of them had a happy time. Since you have a strong and versatile quirk, let's celebrate it. Said Tashinori as both Inko and Kazuki nodded as the three of them moved out to celebrate it. Unbeknownst to any of the three, their words and actions that night would have consequences far worse than any of them could have dreamt of. Not anytime soon, but far more dire than any of them could ever dream of, changing their lives completely. But that will be then, and for now, the three of them, after returning from bringing tons of fast food and other things as Kazuki wanted to eat it at home, soon they take their seats at the table, talking about their day, future prospects, and all eating merrily, totally forgetting Izuku, who's sleeping in his room all alone. Izuku POV. I wake up during the night with my stomach growling. Looking around, it's dark, so I turn on the lights of my room and make my way to the kitchen. There, I see a plate of food wrapped up for me. I look around in confusion and ask if anyone is around before noticing the time on the clock. 12:30, when everybody would usually be in bed, asleep. I can't help but feel sad that I slept so long, and no one woke him up. After all, they had promised each other no matter how busy they were, dinner was the thing that they would do together without fail. Except for today. They didn't wake me up?
Izuku questioned.
Given what we found out though, I guess I didn't want to wake up. I do appreciate that Mom left me a plate in case I woke up though. I just wish that I would have woken up when they came to get me. It's not like they forgot about me, right? Asked Izuku to himself, unaware of the fact how wrong he was. Following this, things started going downhill. His food got cut into half under the pretext of Kazuki needing more food for his quirk to work properly. Izuku agreed, thinking it was logical that Kazuki, who has a quirk, would need more food so that he can function properly, thinking it's totally normal, although given his age of merely 4 years, he wasn't smart enough to understand that what was happening to him wasn't normal at all. Even if one doesn't have a quirk, a 4-year-old still needs enough nutrients to grow up normally. Yet Izuku thought it was totally normal. The fact that his parents told him about Kazuki needing more food, so giving half of Izuku's with a straight face thinking it was totally normal didn't help anything other than worsening the aftereffects, not knowing how messed up it is. And just like that, slowly, he was neglected to the point that his plate wasn't even placed on the dinner table. Neither did Kazuki, Tashinori, or Inko even think that Izuku existed, as if he was never there to begin with. Yet Izuku didn't lose hope as he still thought that he could become a hero. However, it wasn't going to be easy at all. Not only was he neglected at his home to the point they totally forgot about his existence. He was even bullied and used as a punching bag by all the kids of his kindergarten, which was later continued in his middle school. Yet Izuku survived it all with a smile and the hope of being a hero, as all he wanted was to become a hero and thought that if he became a pro hero, he wouldn't be bullied. This could have been true if it was a shonen story like Naruto, but this isn't shonen but a seinen story, which was going to get even darker than it seems. Chapter 3 Bullying. Bullying is the willful and repeated exercise of power over another person to inflict pain and distress. Hillary Clinton. Time skip to middle school. Initially, Izuku was only neglected by Bakugo, Kazuki, and others along with his parents. Yet somehow that was okay. By this time, his parents totally forgot about his existence. And Kazuki, who was once his twin brother, is now just one of his bullies. To the point that he thought of Izuku as just some random kid whom he bullied for being quirkless. They had already stopped going home together, or rather Kazuki stopped waiting for him at all, even though Izuku was forced to do other people's cleaning duties as they told him they needed to do training for their quirk. It wasn't a day's thing, it was something that happened almost every day. And one day, Bakugo hit Izuku for being delusional for wanting to be a hero when he's quirkless. After the first time Bakugo hit Izuku, they started insulting him, mocking him, telling him that he didn't have what it takes to be a hero. Then they started to get physical. At first, they just pushed Izuku around, tripped him, stuff like that. But then they asked if Izuku still wanted to be a hero, and he said yes. Then they started hitting him even more. They didn't use their quirks, thankfully. Instead, they just hit and kicked Izuku, covering him with bruises. But they weren't dumb. They made sure that they only beat him where his clothes would come so that the wounds would be covered by clothes. And over time, they even started using their quirks on him, not caring if Izuku got any bruises in areas which weren't covered by clothes. They even used their quirks on Izuku, treating him as a punching bag under the pretense of using him to train their quirk. And slowly, one by one, more and more people joined in on the bullying done to Izuku. Yet it wasn't like his whole time was spent on getting bullied. The rest of his free time he spent after making his food, patching his injuries, and doing his homework. Izuku spent it on researching pro heroes, be it the top 10, top 100, or no-name heroes who are mentioned in the hero billboard, yet don't receive enough recognition, and are even overshadowed by the videos of accomplishments of top heroes and majorly All Might. He researched everything and compiled them in My Hero Quirk Analysis books, thinking when he would become a pro hero he'll help his fellow pro heroes by telling them their weaknesses and helping them overcome them. And with how detailed and precise his analysis was, he was sure anyone would be able to easily understand them. Like of the number 1 hero, All Might. The one whom he fanboyed for the most. It's obvious he would have done research about him. In fact, he's the first hero Izuku did research on. Hero Quirk Analysis Book, -1 First Entry, All Might. All Might is a symbol of peace and hope. He is always willing to help those in need, even if it means putting himself in danger. He believes that it is important for heroes to be role models for the public, and he strives to live up to that ideal. What is it like for him to be the symbol of peace? Being the symbol of peace is a heavy burden to bear. All Might is constantly under pressure to be perfect and to never fail. He knows that people look up to him, and he doesn't want to let them down. However, All Might also knows that he is not perfect. He has made mistakes in the past, and he will likely make mistakes in the future. However, he is determined to learn from his mistakes and to continue to be the best hero he can be. How does his role as the symbol of peace affect his work as a hero? All Might's role as the symbol of peace affects his work as a hero in a number of ways. First, it gives him a sense of purpose. He knows that he is not just fighting for himself, but for the entire world. This gives him the strength to keep going, even when things are tough. Second, it gives him a lot of responsibility. He knows that people are counting on him, and he doesn't want to let them down. This pressure can be overwhelming at times, but it also pushes him to be the best hero he can be. Third, it makes him a target for villains. Villains know that All Might is the strongest hero in the world, and they see defeating him as a way to prove themselves. This puts All Might in constant danger, but he is willing to risk his life to protect the people. Speculation on All Might's quirk. All Might has superhuman strength, speed, and durability. His muscles seem to grow in size and mass when he uses his quirk. He has some sort of physical enhancement quirk that allows him to increase his muscle strength, speed, and durability to superhuman levels as well, and his quirk allows him to alter his body mass and density. All Might's quirk might be some sort of energy manipulation quirk which allows him to generate and manipulate energy to enhance his physical abilities, which might also allow him to create a protective energy field around himself. Or All Might's quirk might be a combination of physical enhancement and energy manipulation which allows him to increase his muscle strength, speed, and durability by manipulating energy. All Might's quirk is a unique quirk that is not comparable to any other quirk. All Might's quirk might even be a gift from God or some other supernatural being. It is also seen that his time of heroing every day has decreased considerably from going almost 20 hours a day to only 3 hours a day. It might be related to an injury he incurred in the past after fighting a certain villain, after which he was on a break for at least 6 months, during which crime peaked at its highest again. Ultimately, All Might's role as the symbol of peace is a complex one. It gives him a sense of purpose, responsibility, and danger. But it is a role that he is proud to bear, and he is determined to live up to the expectations of the people. This might be the biggest and the longest quirk analysis he has done on any of the heroes he has done so far till now. Of course, it was going to be, as All Might was his role model. And this was just the speculation part, other than that there were many cutouts, images, and villains, as well as all the villains he fought since the beginning of his career. He had created a list of everything, even his sidekicks. It would be an understatement to say that it was too much. Izuku had almost 3 books filled only with pieces of stuff related to All Might. Well, it seems all the fanboying he did in the past is surely going to help me a lot. With so much information, he can easily defeat All Might. All he needed was just a quirk, and he could easily beat All Might to become the next #1 hero, the symbol of peace. For Chapter 4, People Who Care Part 1. Care is the greatest power. Without care, there is no life. Lao Tzu. Izuku walked slowly down the street, his head down. Izuku was on his way back home from school, after getting the supplies needed to patch himself up after today's session of his training, aka other kids bullying him, but Izuku didn't want to go home. He was heading in the opposite direction to that of my house. Why do you ask? Well, it's not like the people around him even remember that Izuku exists. To the point that he's sure if he were to come face to face with them, he's sure they wouldn't even recognize him and take him for a fraud. Not that he looked like Izuku anymore with all the cuts and bruises that he suffers every day and the patchwork he does. How did Izuku even survive all this for this long, if they had totally forgotten about him, you ask? Well, it was obvious that they had totally forgotten about him with the fact that they stopped keeping food for him, let alone calling him when dinner was ready. Izuku had to make his own food, all this patchwork, and all is done with the money he earned by doing some side jobs on the internet, basically some quizzes and all related to heroes and their quirks, along with some minor jobs which he can do from his own home here and there. It gave enough money for him to patch himself up. It's something he's been doing since he was 6, by the time his family totally forgot about him. But Izuku thought that he was learning all sorts of survival skills necessary for a hero to function anywhere properly. Although it wasn't like his life was completely like this. There were moments of happiness in his life as well. Some people were kind to him as well, not caring whether he was quirkless or not. One of them was the shop manager of the local pharmacy he visited for his patchwork. He gave Izuku medicines at half price, paying the other half from his pocket, although Izuku knew he did it out of pity given how Izuku came to his store every time battered and brushed. He wanted to do more, like calling authorities regarding his state, as it wasn't an age for someone to be this bruised, let alone abused, yet he couldn't do anything about it as his shop owner told him not to, or else he might get fired. Izuku didn't blame him, as he knew from the few conversations he had with the shop owner that he has a family, a wife, and a daughter, and his wife is sick and he needed money for her medications as well as to pay the hospital bills. And Izuku was not selfish enough to bite the hand helping him, mooching him to the point possible. And it's for that reason that Izuku refused his help, as half of his salary was spent on the hospital bills, and if he were to pay half of Izuku's medicine bills, then how would he and his daughter survive? After all, everyone needs money to survive. Coupled with the fact that he told Izuku his daughter is the same age as Izuku's, it strengthened Izuku's resolve even more to not take his help. However, he was stubborn, and so was Izuku, and so they came to the conclusion that he can pay Izuku's bills whenever he doesn't have any. As given how Izuku was bullied every day, it wasn't anything new if they stole his money using their strength and quirk after bullying him and using him as a punching bag. Although Izuku opposed the bullying, It just meant he lost the money after getting beaten the shit out of himself. Well, that's how he and Izuku became friends. Well, Izuku say friends because the shopkeeper was the one acting like a friend, like a big brother who would care for him when others wouldn't, treating him like one human should to the other, even though their relationship was somewhat transactional. And the other person, it's actually the place where he's headed to, like usual whenever he feels overwhelmed by the world and wants something calming, which acts like an escape from this world. And this is the only other person who calms him down the most, and every moment spent with this person is always the best moment Izuku had during the entire week. It makes Izuku forget all the worries he has, all the bullying he faced, all the pain, and everything bad that happened to him gets wiped the second he sees this person. He reached the place and knocked on the door. "Coming," said a woman as the door opened in a few moments. "Aren't you on time?" said a young woman with a smile on her face. The young woman was of average height, with turquoise eyes, probably in her early 20s. She has white hair, flecked with a few noticeable traces of a crimson-like color, which is mostly shoulder-length aside from the ear-length side bangs she sports and the short clump she leaves hanging down her forehead. She is wearing a white dress shirt with a plain grayish peach-colored cardigan, the sleeves rolled up to just below her elbows, along with navy blue jeans. She also sports brown dress shoes and a pair of red-framed rectangular glasses. Well, a hero always comes on time, just like All Might who reaches where he is needed on time. Izuku said with a huge smile on my face, and my words filled with enthusiasm. Symbol of fear, Izuku's POV. Although now that I look back, all I can say is one word: delusional. I was delusional to not see the truth in All Might's actions. Blinded by the worthless dream of becoming a pro-hero, enough to not see the illegal discrimination done by my own family. And if that wasn't enough, I was stupid enough to believe in heroes. And the fact that I said those words about heroes reaching places on time and giving All Might's examples, that too with enthusiasm in my words, makes me cringe at my own naivete and stupidity. And also realize that if I want to prevent things and people I care about, then I need to take charge of it, as well as be willing enough to crush someone if they hinder or act as an obstacle in front of me and my goals. 5 Chapter 5 People Who Care Part 2. Care is the greatest gift you can give someone. It is the gift of your time, your attention, and your love. Unknown. Time skip few months before. After the usual bullying at school and getting himself patched up, Izuku was in no mood to go back home just yet and needed a bit of fresh air. So he just decided to wander around, looking around the town, exploring things around him. As he had no one else to roam around with, and he had no privilege to do childish things other kids his age people would do. That's when Izuku heard someone cry. That's when he came across an empty park. And thought it was coming from the park, so Izuku went towards the park, and he wasn't wrong. Izuku saw a small girl sitting on one of the swings in the park. She was crying and all alone. When Izuku looked around him and the park, he could not find a single soul around them. In fact, it was way too quiet to the point that anyone can commit any sort of crime, and they can get away feeling assured that no one would find out about them or what happened in this silent park. And at this time of the day, technically no one walks these roads unless a hero fights. Coupled with the fact that there weren't any CCTVs around, it made things even more dangerous. It made his heart beat even faster. He was taking every step carefully, staying vigilant, as anything could happen. As it wasn't a new thing for people to get kidnapped using small kids. And so Izuku approached the little girl who was sitting all alone on the swing while crying. Luckily, there was no one around, meaning that she was all alone and was just lost. "Are you okay?" Izuku asked. The girl looked up at him. She had big, blue eyes that were filled with tears.
"No," she said.
"I'm not okay." "What's wrong?" Izuku asked. "I'm lost," the girl said. "I got separated from the teacher and others, and I don't know how to get back to my school." Izuku cast a reassuring smile towards her. "Don't worry,"
he said.
"I will help you." The girl stopped crying as her eyes were red from all the crying. She sobbed as she asked me, "Really?" "Of course, don't worry. I'll make sure you are reunited with your teacher," Izuku said once again, as he cast a reassuring smile once again, as his hands moved towards her small face, and he used my thumbs to wipe off the tears on her face. "Do you want water?" Izuku asked as he lifted her to his eye level, placing his hand on her back as he gently caressed her back to calm her down. She nodded as Izuku removed the water bottle from his backpack, and he gave it to her. After drinking water and making sure that she had calmed down, his hand was still caressing her back to calm her down. Izuku gently asked her. What's your name? Although with the patchwork Izuku had done to himself, he looked like some kind of delinquent or better said criminal. However, whether it was because she wanted to go home or was scared or the fact that she was just a 5-year-old girl, she didn't doubt Izuku at all, although it was good as it made it easier for him to help her reunite with her teacher. It seems I need to tell the teacher in charge to be more vigilant and careful with these small children, as she is lucky that it was I who encountered her, not some villain, or else they might have kidnapped such a small child with relative ease, thought Izuku to himself. She said in a small, meek yet cute tone.
Emi-chan,
don't worry. I'll make sure to send you back to your teacher. Izuku said with a smile as a small smile emerged on her face as she nodded her head. Seeing the beautiful smile on little Emi's face was like magic. All the pain, sadness, and all sorts of negative emotions Izuku had locked deep inside his heart, all of that washed out of his face as if it never existed in the first place. The cute smile and beautiful eyes, along with a cute, happy but meek emotion on her face, her smile, and her very existence were so contagious at that point to the fact that the hopes and embers of becoming a hero were slowly extinguishing with all the bullying and neglect. But after meeting Emi, all those emotions washed out of him. It even reignited his passion to become a hero, even if it was to protect such a small and cute 5-year-old. Izuku's face was determined as new embers far stronger than previous ones ignited within him to the point that his sole purpose, currently, was to make sure that Izuku just protected this girl and her smile. And so began their search, as Izuku took her to a more lively and fairly populated area of the town. Apparently, she remembered her school's name, and luckily Izuku had his phone with him, so he was easily able to find the location. Izuku even called the contact number mentioned, but apparently no one picked it up. So using maps, he started navigating toward her school. That's when he saw a group of teachers and students looking for someone. And that's when Emi jumped from his hands as she ran towards her classmates. All of them sighed in relief, as if she hadn't been found it would affect their reputation greatly. However, one teacher in particular, mostly in her early 20s with red flakes of hair along with white hair, jumped to the conclusion thinking Izuku was a kidnapper trying to kidnap her. Well, given his appearance, he can't say he disagreed. Anyone in her place unaware of his history would think the same. Who are you? Were you trying to kidnap Emi? And with how calm she was with you, it might be you having a quirk related to keeping your hostages calm, right? Making it easier for you to kidnap little girls, you lolicon. Started speaking non-stop, and the teacher was like a speeding train, only stopping to breathe once finished with her talking. Wow, if I said I was stunned it would be an understatement. I knew I looked shady and all but a kid stealing lolicon, and on top of that I have a quirk that helps me with it, thought Izuku. I was not sure whether it was imagination or reality, but I could hear all my injuries, broken bones, cuts, and bruises screaming in unison to the top of their lungs. Am I a joke to you? Izuku thought, as he wanted to scream. Chapter 6, People Who Care Part 3. Care for those who cannot care for themselves, and speak out for those who cannot speak for themselves. Princess Diana. Wow, if I said I was stunned it would be an understatement. I knew I looked shady and all but a kid stealing lolicon, and on top of that I have a quirk that helps me with it. I was not sure whether it was imagination or reality, but I could hear of my injuries, broken bones, cuts, and bruises screaming in unison. Am I a joke to you? Thought Izuku. And honestly, Izuku totally agreed with that. If he had a quirk, he wouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. Izuku wouldn't have found her. He would be living happily with his family, who wouldn't have neglected him, forget him, and most of all, if he had quirk, he wouldn't be bullied to such an extent that he would have to walk like a walking, talking mummy 5 days a week. This pissed him off a lot. She had hit a nerve that she shouldn't have. Although Izuku wanted to be a hero, even though he's quirkless, he still helped her reunite with her friends and teachers, and instead of thank you, what Izuku got was a label as a pervert stealing small girls using his quirk. For fuck's sake, I'm in all this shit just because I don't have a quirk, and although I laughed off the bullies thinking they are making my body stronger, she's in the same. I don't even know her. Neither does she. Most probably this is the first time we have seen each other, and yet she has the balls to transfer the blame of losing a child to me when clearly she was at fault. Izuku thought in his mind as he completely lost it. It pissed him off, and he had so much stress pent up, and he just lashed out at her. Excuse me, you good-for-nothing of a teacher. Instead of asking what I was going to do with her, let me ask you a question. What were you doing when you lost a child? Isn't it a teacher's responsibility to make sure all the children with you are accounted for? Or were you busy doing something else? I might be anything, but you should feel lucky I was the one who found her, given the place I found her. Had it been someone else, then congratulations. You would have lost a child, which would probably be used as a bargaining chip for money or something else if she is the daughter of someone hotshot or sold based on her usefulness, be it being a girl or due to her quirk. I could have even called the cops there to file a complaint, yet I was generous enough to get her out of there first and make sure she is reunited with you guys, after which I would have filed a case. Yet given how ungrateful you are, talking to me like this trying to hide your own mistakes, I'll make sure to file a complaint with the police regarding how careless you are, and I have video evidence of everything I talked to Emmy over there from where I found her to here. Given my appearance might make them question me, but the evidence will be more than enough to make sure you get removed, if not the school gets shut. I lashed out all of my anger. It might even be the first time I did this, but it felt kind of good. Listening to this, the woman flinched as Izuku lashed out without stammering, and with full confidence, she realized she made a mistake by jumping to conclusions. I'm really very sorry about it. It's my mistake, yet I blamed you for Emmy's disappearance. It was my first day here, and seeing that Emmy was missing, I was so desperate to try to find Emmy that I jumped to conclusions, and your appearance also added that you might be a shady guy, explained the woman. And so you thought that I was a kidnapper. You really should feel lucky I found her. The park she was in was so silent, and the locality didn't help much, to the point that anyone could have easily kidnapped her had I not decided to wander around the city when I stumbled upon her, I said as I calmed down, yet a tinge of annoyance still mustered on my face. And for your kind information, when I was 4, I was diagnosed as quirkless. Unlike the majority, I don't have such luxuries, as life is nothing but hard for me, so thank you very much and hope we never meet again. I finished as I started walking away from there. She was stunned for a while, yet after listening to that he was quirkless, she felt guilty for rubbing salt in his wounds, as she knows just having a weak quirk makes people look at you with disgusted looks, but having no quirk makes people look at them as objects, not humans. They aren't treated well. Heck, they aren't treated anything, and here she was where she rubbed salt on the wounds that Izuku might be bearing since 4, unaware of how many bad memories she might have made him relive. Plus she saw him, and somehow she saw another kid somehow related to her who had one side red and one side white-colored hair. Given the bruises on such a small kid's body, she couldn't help but relive traumas of her own house. Her heart filled with emotions as tears started forming on her face and started rushing down, as she held Izuku's arm tightly and pulled him towards her into a hug as she started caressing his head and battered back with all the love she could. Even though his face was between her breasts, it wasn't the important matter currently, and it seems that neither of them cared about it at that time. As the pats and caresses were filled with so much love that Izuku could say he never experienced after turning 4, all the locked-up emotions gushing down in the form of tears as he let his guard down and held her embrace as he silently cried his heart out, removing all the tension and anxiety and stress and all other bad emotions he had, as even though he never cried, it didn't change the fact that he was merely a 13 to 14-year kid who still needs people to look out for him and care for him. She continued patting him while he cried out. Once Izuku calmed down and she felt it, she loosened her grip on him as Izuku asked her just one question, with eyes that were red and still moist. Why? I don't know, you reminded me of my brother, who's in almost the same situation as you, but he has a really powerful quirk and is made to train every day by my father. He is almost the same age as you, said the woman. I couldn't help but see him in you, and couldn't control myself, plus all the mean things I said to you which I shouldn't have. It made me unable to control myself, so I did what I thought was the best I could do, hug you and comfort you, which is definitely something I was not able to do to my brother, said Fuyumi. I'm Fuyumi Todoroki, by the way, but you can call me Fuyumi, and let me know if I can do something to make up for my mistake and all the things that made you feel hurt, said the woman with a smile as she herself wiped her eyes, which were moist. Why don't you come with me? I want to apologize to you properly, and until I do that I won't be able to sleep properly. Please, it's a request, said Fuyumi. Fine, I'll come with you, Izuku said, sighing as it looked like she wouldn't take no for an answer. Izuku just followed behind her and she treated him to lunch. Along with that, they exchanged contacts as Izuku wanted to meet Emmy again and she wanted to know about him. Symbol of fear, Izuku POV. And that's how I met the second nice person who always made me feel better. Not then, not now, not in the future. There is no way I could ever feel guilty of doing any of the things I did that day or how the events turned out to be. In fact, that encounter proved to be very vital for the future that was about to come, said Izuku. 7 Chapter 7 Choices. The choices we make, not the chances we take, determine our destiny. John C. Maxwell. Timeline: few months after All Might's final battle against AFO. Location: Recovery Girls Hospital. All Might's inner monologue. Ever since I got that injury from my final battle with AFO, keeping my buff state is getting even more harder. And by the passing of every day, every week, and every year, my body is getting weaker and weaker to the point that I can currently only maintain my buff state for 3 hours a day at max. And if I try pushing myself, I lose consciousness and end up on Recovery Girl's hospital bed like I did just now. Thought All Might as he laid on the hospital bed, as becoming a hero was getting harder for him. Recovery Girl, who just patches my wounds and nothing else other than the bare minimum, every time I end up here. Well, I don't blame her. After all, she isn't the only one acting like that. Gran Torino, Night Eye, and Recovery Girl, all of them sort of cut all of their connections and limited themselves to just casuals and doing the bare minimum, said All Might, sighing. Flashback, no jutsu, just after All Might's final battle with AFO. After the final battle with AFO ended, AFO was wiped out of existence, and All Might ended up in a hospital with a damaged stomach and half of his respiratory organs destroyed. All Might was surrounded by many of his colleagues, namely Gran Torino, Sir Nightai, Recovery Girl, Principal of UA Mizu, Detective Neo Mesa, and many others, and all of them said just one thing. Now that AFO is finished, you should retire, take rest, and pass on your legacy to some worthy successor. Mizu even said, UA has many rising stars who are inspired by you to become heroes and are more than suitable enough to take the responsibilities. Yet All Might denied them, saying, Not right now, I can still go on, it's just some organs, I can easily go for few more years without worry. The country still needs a symbol of peace, especially when AFO is no more, criminals will be on the rise until I can make sure that everything is okay. Hearing this, Sir Nightai lashed out. Don't be ridiculous, I have seen you die, and a brutal death at that. I don't know who killed you, but one thing is sure, that you will die a really bad death. So I need you to stop being a hero, retire, I beg you, as your sidekick, I just want your well-being, said Sir Nightai as he practically had tears in his eyes by this moment. However, All Might nodded his head in denial. Sorry, I can't do that. Seeing that Sir Nightai's plea went to waste, he said, If that's the case, then I can't be your sidekick anymore. Saying this, Sir Nightai left the hospital. And others who hadn't left had a disappointed look on their face, as they didn't say anything. Flashback, no jutsu ends. As All Might was lying on the hospital bed, thought, and that's why Sir Nightai stopped being my sidekick and went on complete radio silence with me, only sending me some pieces of information if required via someone, and never met me after that. And I totally understand his actions, seeing that he was one of my biggest fans and sidekick for the longest time. He cares too much about me, and seeing me die might be too much for him. I understand others as well, as it is my selfish wish to neglect all the rest and worry they have for me and do what I want. I understand them not talking or doing anything much. I mean, that's the price I have to pay for maintaining the peace of Japan, thought All Might lying on the bed. Soon a smile formed on his face as he said, Even if they don't talk to me, I still have my wife and kid who love me and care for me, and that's enough for me. Symbol of Fear. Izuku's POV. In a distorted future, Izuku could be seen, sitting on what looked like a throne, but on closer look, it was a throne, but not some ordinary throne, but a throne of corpses, corpses of all famous pro-heroes. Yes, he totally forgot that he had kids, not just one kid, he totally forgot by this point that I even existed. He was so full of himself and blinded by hero work that he forgot what was happening in his own house. The same mistake that Nana Shimura made. She was so worried about her child's safety that she pushed him away, not knowing the consequences of her single choice. Her son grew up to hate and despise heroes to the point that he even beat his son just for talking about becoming a hero, which her grandson Tenko Shimura didn't take nicely, as he associated all the bad things happening to him as the fault of heroes, and it multiplied to the point that he became Tamura Shigaraki, successor of AFO, whom she, Nana Shimura, died fighting. And All Might did the same. He discriminated between his quirkless son and son with a powerful quirk to the point that he totally forgot about the former, pushing me to my mental limits, causing me to take drastic measures. Yet, he was so blinded that he had to be reminded of my existence by an outside party. I don't know if Nana Shimura's actions were right or not, but one thing is for sure, as parent both of them had failed, and that's why I had decided to make sure that All Might's fall would be far worse than Nana's, along with making sure the title symbol of peace is despised and dreaded to the point that they forget all the good things he has done. Of course, I was going to make sure that his fall was the worst, and that I did. Stick till the end, and you'll see All Might's mighty fall. However, he wasn't the only one whose choices changed his life. There was someone else as well, said Izuku as a wave of nostalgia washed off him. Aldera Middle School. Okay, this is going too out of hand, Mr. Miyamoto said to himself as he slammed his hand on the table. Seeing which other faculties look at him, seeing which he takes his hand off of the table. Seeing Izuku's condition getting worse by the day crushes my heart. I knew Izuku's state and how many people really cared for him. I knew one thing for sure. His family has forsaken him, as if they hadn't, then his twin brother, who is healthy as hell, wouldn't have openly bullied Izuku using his quirk when his state clearly said that he wasn't getting proper nutrition. And how no one did anything when he came to school, or went home strapped in bandages. Heck, I could even say I forgot how that boy looks given most of the time he is covered with bandages, thought Mr. Miyamoto as he thought about all this, and his rage started building. And if that wasn't enough, when I tried talking to the principal, he just shut me up, saying that all I should focus on is teaching, and that if I try acting smart I will lose the job and be blacklisted by every school around. Fucking bastard, Mr. Miyamoto said in his mind as other teachers still surrounded him. So, Mr. Miyamoto decided to stop doing extra indulgence in his matters and focused on teaching, but he also made sure no one bullied Izuku when he was around. Yet it just meant that Izuku would be bullied twice as much as he did every day when Mr. Miyamoto's period wasn't there. And it caused poor Izuku's state to deteriorate. Izuku's bright smile, which could once blind anyone, was also slowly fading away, with him rarely even smiling. All of this was acting too badly for Mr. Miyamoto's mental health. Damn it, I have a kid, and every time I see Izuku's battered and bruised condition, I can't help but see my own son in his place. It ached my heart too much, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I complained to the local authorities about it, said Mr. Miyamoto as he couldn't take it anymore and complained to the local authorities. Alas, all the kids that bullied him were somehow related to big shots or had a powerful quirk, and the local authorities were bought. Due to this, my plea went unnoticed, and I lost my job, said Mr. Miyamoto as he gritted his teeth. Although I didn't care about my job as much, as I could do anything to survive, I was sad that I couldn't do anything for Izuku, and it tore my heart away, killing me from the inside. I even thought about ending the lives of those kids who bullied Izuku, as even though they are kids with powerful quirks, they don't deserve to live if all they do with their so-called powerful quirk is just bully people. But I stopped myself, afraid if I did anything else, my own family might get attacked, as I am but an ordinary teacher, and knew very well if those big shots wished, I and my family would be wiped from the face of the earth, and no one would come to know anything. Even imagining seeing my wife and son getting killed dreaded me to the point I would have nightmares every day. Thus I decided to not go any further, and just prayed for a miracle to happen to Izuku that would change his life. Mr. Miyamoto thought as he regretted his own powerlessness. Symbol of fear, Izuku's POV. I knew he was helping me from the background, and I couldn't have asked anything more from him. For me, he is a true teacher. And I was glad to have him as my teacher. And I could never hold him for thinking for his family, as unlike my family, who had forsaken me for being quirkless, he had a family he cared for. And whenever it was his period, he always treated me like his own son. That is more than enough I could have asked from a teacher. And that's why two people who could have been my teachers had such an opposite fate than each other, all because of their choices, said Izuku in a menacing tone. Chapter 8, All Falls Down. When a dream dies, the heart is torn to shreds. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Yagi Residence. Today's day started off well for Izuku. He woke up early feeling refreshed, the pain also subsided, and he was all ready for school, having encountered no bullies on his way. Yet it was just the calm before the storm. Today was going to change his life completely. When he reached school, he came to know that Mr. Miyamoto was fired from the school for some illegal conduct with students, which Izuku knew was not true at all. I knew Mr. Miyamoto the most. If there's something, he would never do any such thing, said Izuku to himself, as he was sure Mr. Miyamoto would never do such a thing. But he also knew he couldn't do anything or pry too much about it, as he knew he wouldn't get answers. Yet it was like a jackpot for everyone else. Even before the class started, all of the students started using their quirks on him, as if he were a punching bag and not a human. And all of them didn't hold back even a slight bit. Was it the fact that now there was no one to stop them, or something else? But they were definitely unhinged today. The only reason why he was still conscious even after all the beating when they used their quirk to their fullest was because they were still kids, and their quirk weren't that developed. It might even be considered a miracle that Izuku remained conscious when all the previous wounds that hadn't healed completely were open once again, and he was bleeding profusely from every part of my body. That's when they actually stopped, as even if Izuku was quirkless, if he got killed, their career might definitely be finished, and they all dreamt of becoming heroes, so they stopped themselves. But it only accounted for the other bullies. It seemed that seeing Izuku's bloodied body was pumping the original bullies with adrenaline as they continued bullying him throughout the school, and they finally ended up throwing his quirk analysis books along with my bag into the pond, after which they threw Izuku from the second floor into the pond as well. All the while he couldn't do a single thing, as whenever he tried to raise his voice their bullying got even more intense. Seeing Izuku and his books soaked in water mixed with his blood, Bakugo and Kazuki laughed seeing his state. Satisfied, Bakugo and Kazuki were leaving when Bakugo said, "You know, Deku, if you really want to become a hero that badly, why don't you take a swan dive from the roof and pray that you get a quirk in your next life?" Izuku heard that, and it saddened his heart a lot as he was on the verge of crying, yet the impact was too much for him to stay awake as he lost consciousness. When Izuku woke up, he was all patched up and out of the water along with his books lying beside me getting dried under the sun. Izuku looked around him to see if he could find who was the one who helped him, as he didn't know who it was, but he made sure to stop the blood loss along with patching up all the wounds Izuku had incurred, even the ones that he couldn't have patched himself. He felt grateful for whoever he was, who patched him up along with drying his books. Flashback no Jutsu. Timeline around when Izuku lost consciousness after falling from the second floor. Just as Mr. Miyamoto was leaving with his stuff, he heard a voice when he closed the distance towards the voice. His face turned horrid as he saw Izuku all battered and bloody with torn clothes thrown out of the second floor window where his class was. Seeing this, he kept the stuff under a tree on his side. As he ran towards Izuku, that's when Mr. Miyamoto heard Bakugo's comment, which dreaded his heart as how could a kid say such a thing to someone. Bakugo was practically telling Izuku to commit suicide, and Kazuki didn't say anything. After the initial horror subsided, he was filled with rage. Rage not to just use his quirk, but to also make sure both the kids were crippled, as he was sure of one thing: society didn't need these kids as heroes, as if they became heroes they wouldn't save people that are weak, but they would oppress them instead. He wanted to go and teach those kids a lesson, but saving Izuku was important, and so he pulled Izuku out of the pond. Seeing his bloodied and battered body, all Mr. Miyamoto said was, "Thank God, I came to take my stuff, or else they could have really killed Izuku," said Mr. Miyamoto to himself. Given the state Izuku was in, if Mr. Miyamoto hadn't come on time, then Izuku might have fallen into a coma if he was lucky enough to not die. And Mr. Miyamoto was sure even if either of that would have happened, no one would have cared about it, given how the landing blow was given by his own twin. Mr. Miyamoto wanted to beat them even more seeing Izuku's state, and he didn't care what happened to his family knowing that he saved someone's life. And he was sure his family would have done the same thing without even thinking twice. Yet he stopped himself, as currently, it wasn't revenge that was important, but healing Izuku. And that was what he did. He patched Izuku's body up and stopped the excess bleeding, however it wasn't easy. Seeing all the wounds that he saw for the first time, which were covered up by his school uniform. Yes, it was Mr. Miyamoto's first time seeing this, and it sent a chill down my spine as he thought, how could a 14-year-old kid have such an injured body, which many militants never have in their whole service? And most of all, how was Izuku able to walk like nothing's wrong every day? Was there really no one who knew about this? Was there really no one worried about him? Was everyone turning a blind eye to him just because he is quirkless? And what are his parents even doing? Do they not get concerned about their kids' well-being, or have they totally forgotten that Izuku even exists? Many questions were going through Mr. Miyamoto's mind. And he said with a determined look, "This is enough. I can't let this continue anymore. Because if I did, Izuku wouldn't be able to survive even a week. I will definitely do something. If required, I will adopt him. Yes, I will adopt him. At least I will be a better parent to Izuku than his current parents." As Mr. Miyamoto caressed sleeping Izuku's face, he said, "Rest a bit now, Izuku. Once I keep my stuff back and talk to my family, I'll start calling in favors to make sure I get your custody, Izuku. I won't let you suffer anymore, I promise." Saying that, he laid Izuku on the ground and left the compound. Sad, his intentions were noble, but fate had some other plans, as he wouldn't be able to see the Izuku he knew ever again. Flashback ends. Seeing he is all patched up, Izuku felt really grateful for whoever it was that helped him, as well as he felt sorry for them, having to see such an unsightly scene of his body. After standing up and packing his stuff, Izuku decided to take a detour to calm himself down. Plus it was that time of the week when Izuku would meet Fuyumi, and spending time with her always lifted Izuku's mood. But he still decided to take a detour to calm himself down. That's why he took the long way there, by roaming around the city as he said, "I hope to think of some plausible excuse regarding my condition so that Fuyumi won't worry too much about me." 9 Chapter 9 All Falls Down Part 2. The worst thing in life is not that your dreams come true. The worst thing in life is that your dreams fade away. Billy Graham. I hope to think of some plausible excuse regarding my condition so that Fuyumi won't worry too much about me. After all, even if I didn't tell her about getting bullied, it wasn't like she was blind. She noticed it. After all, it isn't child's play knowing that I was quirkless, and with the number of bandages around me, it wasn't hard for her to catch on. she would have to be an airhead or uncaring for her to not notice. Yet she never pondered over it, knowing it would be hard for me to talk about it. That's what I like about her the most. She never questioned why or how I got those injuries, yet at the same time she cared for me, loved me as a family would, and also worried for my well-being, and most of all she had faith in me. What more could I have asked from someone? That's why I don't want her to worry about me, said Izuku as he started muttering again. With all those thoughts in mind, Izuku packed his bag and left the school. He went around looking at the city thinking about many things. Majorly about quirks, the existing ones as well as the new ones emerging, and all the new heroes emerging along with how the current heroes can improve their quirks. As soon as he started thinking about quirks and all the new kinds of combinations and all the synergies the heroes could make with each other, how the heroes can work in teams to effectively cancel out their weaknesses. Izuku went into his own zone, although he was walking on the road looking here and there, but his mind was racing in its own world, unable to listen to anything around him. That's when he got bumped by a man who was running towards something. It woke him up as he saw the man who was running and following him. Izuku saw more people running in the same direction. It caused him to look around to see what this commotion was all about. That's when he saw All Might jump away with a green sludge-like thing in his hand. Being an All Might fan, it didn't take him even a second to understand All Might defeated another villain, and mostly whoever the villain was inside that glass cylinder. Seeing this as his chance to meet All Might, Izuku decided to go towards him as well. But as Izuku was about to close the distance between them, he leapt. Not wanting to go without meeting All Might, he decided to follow him. Since Izuku knew he had gotten slower with all the broken bones and all, yet he knew if he did his best he could catch him. And so he did, but it seems he wasn't the only one. Apparently, Kazuki and Bakugo also saw that from the other side, and even followed All Might. The only difference was that they had quirks that helped them reach faster, while Izuku had to technically drag his torn-out body. So when he reached where All Might landed, he saw him talking to both of them. So Izuku decided to watch them from behind the wall, as he didn't want to humiliate himself in front of All Might. And what followed next made his world crashing down. He saw All Might going all smoke, and when the smoke cleared he saw none other than his father Toshinori Yagi. Seeing this, Izuku freaked the hell out of his mind. How could he have not noticed that his own dad was All Might? It explains so many things. Luckily, Izuku didn't scream as he continued to listen to what All Might was talking about. Just like Izuku, Bakugo and Kazuki also had the same reaction as him, meaning Kazuki didn't know about it as well. Bakugo knowing about it wasn't that important, as if Izuku and Kazuki didn't know all this time that their dad was All Might, there was no way for him to know about it as well. So it didn't matter much to Izuku as he continued listening to him talking with Kazuki and Bakugo. That's when All Might started explaining his quirk OFA, or One for All. You see, Kazuki, my quirk is One for All. It's a stockpiling quirk past generation after generation where each holder cultivates the quirk in their body throughout their lifetime. All for the sole purpose of fighting this quirk's arch nemesis, All for One. Someone who wants to destroy this world, and I am its eighth bearer of this quirk, and now it has enough power to finally defeat All for One. But as you can see, I am not physically strong, said All Might, showing his damaged organs, seeing which both Kazuki and Bakugo flinched. As you can see with this body, I cannot use this much power, plus I have already taken care of AFO. So I decided to pass it on to someone worthy, so that in the future if someone like AFO comes, then they can use the power of this quirk to stop them. And then I thought, who better than my own kids? I planned to give it to the one who had a weaker quirk, so that there could be a balance of power between the two of you. Unfortunately, Izuku was born quirkless, and I couldn't give such a quirk to someone who has nothing to offer to the quirk. It would definitely be a waste of potential, so I decided to give this quirk to you. As I feel you are more worthy of this quirk than Izuku, who can do nothing. That's why I take this hair, and you can be the next symbol of peace. And seeing how good you have compatibility with Bakugo, I'm sure you can easily beat anyone. Saying which, Kazuki ate the hair, as All Might nodded. Listening to this was more than enough, as tears started rolling down Izuku's eyes. His heart and dreams were shattered into a million pieces, as the person who made him want to become a hero was his own father, and he didn't think his son was worthy of inheriting his quirk just because he was quirkless. Izuku couldn't handle it anymore. His head was spinning and he couldn't seem to be able to breathe, as if someone was choking him. Izuku was moving here and there just to catch some breath. His whole body started sweating profusely, and he was trembling as he felt tightness in his chest. Izuku started losing control over himself with heavy breathing. He tried many things, but he couldn't do anything to get rid of it, as he still felt his breath short. Yes, he was having a panic attack. Unable to breathe, as fear of death started looming over his head, Izuku ran out of that place away from all the people who didn't care about him, and he somehow ended up on the rooftop of the nearby building, apparently the biggest one around. And just as he reached the rooftop, Izuku somehow fell, losing consciousness completely. 10 Chapter 10 Despair. Despair is the denial of hope. It is the belief that there is no future and that nothing can change. Unknown. Location rooftop, where Izuku lost consciousness. When Izuku woke up, probably after a few hours, as he could see the sun setting down as an orange hue filled the sky. Initially, Izuku was confused as to why was he there, and what was he doing. As he tried remembering, everything came back like a flood, everything that happened to him since the beginning of the day. From Kazuki and Bakugo's bullying to meeting All Might in real life, to finding out his dad was All Might and how he sees Izuku as worthless. Tears well up in his eyes as for the first time in his life Izuku started having pure, unadulterated rage. And it was directed at none other than the symbol of peace, aka All Might, aka his dad. Izuku couldn't tolerate the lie All Might told. How he so casually said anybody can be a hero with a smile, a line that was sort of my mantra, and the driving force, the source of my hope to endure everything I did till now, and yet he didn't mean it at all. Said Izuku as he clenched his hands. Hypocrite. Said Izuku in anger, as that was the word that best described All Might currently. And if that wasn't all, he knew how much of an All Might fan I was, he knew it very well, and yet he neglected me just because I was quirkless to the point that I was totally forgotten. He didn't even trust me enough to think I could wield his quirk, and why? Because I was quirkless and had nothing to offer to the quirk. Said Izuku in anger as he gnashed his teeth, grinding them. All these thoughts gave birth to the rage Izuku never thought he would direct towards All Might, and yet here he was. Izuku continued gnashing my teeth in anger, but after some point, he stopped as he sat mindlessly watching the sun. What could he do? Take revenge? Many people tried doing so, people who were far more stronger than him, and what was he, a 14-year-old quirkless kid? How was he going to do what others failed at? Yes, now Izuku knows about All Might's weakness, but before he can even act, All Might will easily dodge it. What would even the point be, other than being beaten by him and his brother before getting kicked out of the house or used as a punching bag or servant? As he realized all this, Izuku even started questioning all the sufferings he endured to be a hero. Did I even want to be a hero now? Knowing the number 1 hero symbol of peace was nothing but a hypocrite fake. Was there even a point in living such a miserable life? Said Izuku. That too as the son of such a hypocritic fake, son of a mother who never looked at me since my diagnosis of being quirkless, not even once cared for my well-being. And what's the point of having a brother if all he can see in me is a punching bag whom he uses however he likes, as if I'm not a human but an endurance toy built for him, totally forgetting everything we planned together when we were going to be adults. Now that he has that hypocrite's quirk, his hits will get even more painful. Rather than dying being bullied by him and Bakugo, I would choose to die of my own accord. What about Fuyumi? What will she think? Thought Izuku. All these thoughts came into Izuku's mind, but vanished as quickly as they appeared. After all, after the meeting with All Might, his dream and reason for living died. All the endurance he had to survive died as well, and living with such disgusting people being related to them was getting on his nerves. And even if he gets into UA, what's the point when the dream has died? All Izuku will be is an emotional burden on her, and as a man who wanted to be a hero, there is no way he can accept such a thing. And most of all, I can't go in front of her with these dead eyes. If Emmy wasn't scared by my bandages, seeing me now she definitely would, and how can I show such a small kid such a face? As I no longer have what it takes to smile, even if small kids surround me, all I can do is show a fake smile. And that's something I don't want to show any of the kids there, said Izuku as he tried smiling, but he failed miserably. With all those thoughts in his mind, one thing was clear, Izuku didn't want to live any longer, at least among these people whom he used to call friends and family. And that's when Bakugo's quotes from today morning came into his mind. Take a swan dive from the roof and pray for a quirk in my next life. He said just before Izuku lost consciousness. And for the first time in my life, Izuku thought about listening to him. After all, even if Izuku didn't get a quirk, at least he didn't want to grow up around such people who just discussed him and nothing else. But just jumping wouldn't be enough. At least he needed to leave a note behind for Fuyumi so that she wouldn't blame herself for anything that happened to him. And so Izuku wrote a note and tore it from his book, folded it, and placed it in the open zipper of his bag with only a small part of it coming out. With everything done and ready, Izuku looked at the sun one last time as it was about to set. He thought about jumping just as the sun set, signifying the end of the day and also the end of his story, and his life as well. And so, by the time the sun set, he cleared out all of his thoughts as he steeled his resolve, cried one last time, and removed his shoes and socks as he stood at the edge of the rooftop. And just as the sun set, Izuku closed my eyes, and without wasting a second, he spread his hands as he jumped, and like gravity, do its work as he was falling down very fast. Just as he was about to hit the iron spikes on the gate and get himself impaled to the next life, something weird happened.
Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe.